Good evening and welcome to Heritage TV. We'd like to welcome you viewers watching us from around the world. Today, the 6th of April 2020. And this evening, we have a very good panel that will be giving us, the intrigue of this latest development that is happening in regard um, the development in United Kingdom. As a lot of you that have been following us on Heritage TV and all our social media handles would know that in the last few hours, there has been so much in terms of development coming out of number 10 Downing Street. Number 10 Downing Street, one of the most important buildings around the world. If you have not been to United Kingdom before, you would have heard about it, or you will have seen the building, or you will have seen that number. But this evening, we'll have good panel. And what are we looking at? We're looking at the Nigerian leader versus UK leader, and it can only happen here on Heritage TV. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, we would like to say to those of you at home to please kindly subscribe to the YouTube page and also tell your friends. It's also good if you can also share the button so that the next person will also have the benefit to hear what the panel are going to be discussing tonight. We can't do it alone, but I would like to first and foremost say thank you to those that we called, and they're always there to answer us at any given time that we need them. Also, before we go further, we'll have to always say kudos to the technical team. This couldn't have come true, but let's go straight to it, and let me get the screen of all my guests up at the moment, and I will let them introduce themselves. I know what I would do is I know who they are, but I will just give you a little bit of hint. They know who they are, and all they need to do is as soon as I give that hint, just go ahead and introduce yourself. My very good brother with the beautiful headset, I will let you take the battle and introduce yourself to those that are watching us at home and probably having a bit of time to watch us at work around the globe.
Thank you very much. My name is Adekunle Oluwalano. I'm a Yoruba man from Ekiti State, living here in the United Kingdom. Um, I'm one of the few Yorubas living here in the United Kingdom. We know the kind of situation we are with the scourge of the coronavirus ramping in the entire globe, and we're not having it easy here in the UK. And if I bring it to our memory, about a couple of weeks ago, the cabinet members of the British government were first tested positive, and they declared it immediately, almost immediately, as they find out, from the health secretary to members of parliament, and then the prime minister. And the prime minister
We go
did not
into the
hide it.
details. We go into that details. I just wanted you to just introduce yourself. I know you've got you want to fire on straight away, but I just want my viewers to
Okay.
get to know who you are, and then we will go into
Okay.
all those nitty gritty. Can I have the
Okay.
back to the full screen so that we can quickly have the remaining two guests? And on my top there, sitting in the very beautiful cushion, I could say I think it could be a leather one. I know your screen doesn't seem to be coming up. I'm sure you will definitely do justice to it. If you'd like to just introduce yourself, and then we can get to meet you.
Minisola Bode Fagbemi, also a British Nigerian, but I'm always proud to describe myself as a Nigerian. So nice meeting you tonight. I'm happy being part of this panel or this program tonight.
Thank you very much. And they say the last person is not always the last because the last will always have something to tell us. And I'll let my the last panel to also introduce himself to all those that are watching us at home and around the world.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Iboro Otu. I'm from Akwa Ibom State and I'm presently in Abuja. I'm a businessman and political activist. And in the last elections, I contested as
Okay.
for the position of a governor of Akwa Ibom State. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I run for office
If you take
in the
off
last
the
election
sound
for the.
we can get the feed of the sound coming back into the into our headset. So can you take off the noise behind that because that is already coming up. There is a lot of background noise. I'm not sure what that noise is. Can we take that noise out so that those at home can be able to enjoy the program with us this evening? Well, let's go ahead while that is
being told not to close public parks.
and I'm sure the technical team will take off that background sound that we are getting feedback into the our headset. We have a lot that we are going to be looking at, and we're just trying to see how we can balance it. The focus is Boris Johnson, but likewise we will compare the leaders here in United Kingdom, in Europe, and in other part of the globe, and we can also see what makes it different, to our leaders back in Africa as well. A lot of people have always tried to mark that whatever is happening around the globe is what we should emulate. Maybe you might disagree to that as well. It's also, a good thing that you also leave your comment. We'll be picking those comments as well. You might want to ask why we don't have a female panel this evening. We try to make sure we get one, but as you can understand, a lot of people are very busy, but we can assure you that we will continue to do our best to bring a female panel as well to be on the list each time we come on Heritage TV. First and foremost, I will tell you who Boris Johnson is. This is a man that was born on the 19th of June, 1964. He's a British politician, a writer, and he was also a former journalist, just like what we are doing. I mean, that means that you can be whoever you want to be, but maybe not in other part of the climate. But where we are, it doesn't matter whether you are any kind of job. You can be rest assured that you can also work towards your goals, and then you can become the prime minister. I will put a hold on that for now, but I will go straight to Iboru back in Abuja, because you are at home and looking at the picture and the information where we are today. I will give you a little bit of background as well of the latest where we are. We do know that the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been moved to the intensive care in London Hospital, St. Thomas Hospital, which is not too far away from the number 10 Downing Street. He has been suffering from coronavirus symptoms for almost 10 days. We thought it would be coming out just like the health secretary came out, and also the chief medical. But it seems situation changed in the last few hours, and he's now been moved to the intensive care. Looking at that, as someone that lives in Nigeria, before we come back to those living in UK, what is something coming onto your thoughts as individual, as African, living in Nigeria, and thinking, wow, we can easily even know where the prime minister is? And I'll go straight to you now in Abuja.
Thank you so much for the question. You see, we are watching very closely what's happening in the United Kingdom, and we hope the Prime Minister and other people get well soon, just like we hope for people here in Nigeria. Obviously, we are aware of what's happening there because every moment in time we have updates on BBC and all the channels available to us. We hope to have that kind of leadership here in. That's why one of Akwa Ibom State in the last elections, hoping to bring around this kind of change. There's a stark difference between what you are experiencing there and what's here. And I'll give you an example. We know for a fact that the chief of staff to our president probably has corona. He's been, infected by this virus. We don't know where he's treated, how he's doing. We have no updates. It takes a lot of pressure from Nigerians before we get addressed, so we get information about what's really happening. The preparedness of our leaders or our health of the health sector is almost abysmal. I mean, we don't have things like ventilators. And I take my state for example. Just a couple of days ago, the NCDC stated that about five people had corona in Akwa Ibom State, and the government was contesting that result, almost going to court. We have no ventilators in Akwa Ibom State, just two, and I'm not sure we have up to 100 in the country. And so this reflects and tells a lot about the state of Nigerian leadership, African leadership, as opposed to what's happening in the UK. The Prime Minister is in a public hospital. Everyone else in the UK has access to that hospital to go in for treatment. What do we have here? What hospitals are our leaders using? And right now that we are trapped in this country, the few great hospitals that are available, they reach the House members, the senators, and all the other people that occupy the whole place, leaving the common man with nothing to take hold of or go in for treatment. And now I'm stuck in my house. I have to call a couple of people to have information because information is very scarce, as opposed to the information you're giving me, which I can also see on the internet. And so this calls to question a lot of things. I am hoping that when this blows away, because obviously it won't, Nigerians will be able to ask serious questions about leadership in this country and where we're going as a people. Because what this has done is further open up the lapses we have in our system, not just in the health system, but it reflects across every other sector in the country. So again, going back to the UK, the best, and everyone else, and I hope we get out of this in no time.
Wow, thank you very much for that, brief explanation there. Let me come to, Mr. Bode. You are here in the United Kingdom. What has been your concern? Notice that the situation has changed at number 10 Downing Street. We do know that, someone is in charge at the moment, but looking at the scenario playing out, this has been done, this has happened before. And let me just take back our viewers and those that are watching us on all those platforms that in 2003, Tony Blair was admitted to the hospital 2003. It's not common for political leader to be hospitalized. We're human beings. We would definitely at one point, the body was shut down. But Tony Blair was also admitted, and that was the last time, this happened in UK in October 2003 when Prime Minister Tony Blair was taken in with concern about his heart. He was kept in the hospital for like hours, was deleted, he was taken out after 20 minutes. But now that the Prime Minister is there, we know the name of the hospital, somebody is in charge. What would you like to tell us in terms of the leaders trying to make sure that the moment that you are not in that capacity, somebody else can take over in the affairs of the country? What would you like to tell us on that? And I think I'm told as well that one of us have a TV set on. Please let us mute our TV set so that those that are watching us can really get what we are trying to pass to them. So that is very, very key and important. So if any one of us is having a TV set on, let us put it on mute. You can continue to see the screen, but put it on mute. And let me now go back again to Mr. Bode to tell us, in terms of giving power to the next person when situation change, like what has happened here in United Kingdom.
Thanks so much, Mr. Oluwalano. And foremost, I wish our Prime Minister a speedy recovery. And I just want to say that this is not like in Africa. We have a big problem in Africa, which I believe has to do with the greediness, the selfishness, their inability to know when to hand over. They want to hold on to power at all costs, and which is quite different from what we have in civilized society like UK. Permit me to take your memory back to what happened during Yaradua, the late Yaradua era. when this man was sick in Aso Rock, and they were hiding him there for so many times until the situation got very worse. Things like this should not be happening in Africa. But I'm happy now that we are beginning to have a change in terms of a leadership style and the rest of it. Look at what happened recently in Kaduna State. That is one of the guys that I admire a lot, El-Rufai. When he had a similar problem, just like what we're experiencing in UK now, he came out openly. And then again, we have this young dynamic guy in Oyo State there ruling. When he had the same similar problem, it was announced openly. The earlier things like this are exposed and they are taken to the hospital, they're able to have a good medical care, medical attention. It will help a lot. But the problem that we have in Africa is this: they want to hold on to power. They don't want to hand over to whoever the next person. We had a similar situation with the current president when he was sick and the rest of it, and there was some, they be the cabal or whatsoever they call them. We're not prepared to allow this guy to hand over power to the vice president. Things like this doesn't help
Sorry,
our
Mr. Body, let me
situation.
just quickly come in there. Is it possible for you to either move your screen back so that the technical team can capture you very well? I think, yeah, that is far much better. Because
Yeah.
we're only seeing half of your face, and it would be nice to also get your clear view, for the technical team that are working behind the scene. Thank you very much, and I'll let you continue.
Okay, let me just say, just to continue by saying, like I said earlier, our leaders should be able to be more straightforward in the area of whatever the issue they have with health. There's nobody with a perfect health system. We're all human beings. They should be able to be honest with the people as a leader, the people that they are leading. We need transparency among our leaders. If there is anybody sick, look at what is happening in the UK now. People knows everything that is happening. We're all monitoring it, and people are praying for him. Even when you go, I follow him on Facebook, and I've been seeing so many people that will not even be expecting. You only hear white people talking about, praying. They say, we pray that we wish you speedy healing. God will heal you speedily, and the rest of it. And these are the things people are praying for him now. They are praying for him on his Facebook page and the rest of it. This is the
What
kind
is
of
the reason
leadership
for
style.
that breakdown? What is the reason for that breakdown between the leaders and the citizens? I mean, where these kind of scenario where we are being played like we're watching a movie. We are being told day by day, minute by minute, what is happening with our prime minister. But yet we find it very difficult, for our African leaders, be it in Nigeria, in Kenya, to give us details what is happening to those that we call leaders.
I want to say let me just mention two things which I believe it has to do with lack of transparency among our leaders. And unfortunately, again, because most of them don't realize that they are leaders, they don't want to appreciate that they are leading people. They want to be acting like God, as if cannot be sick, nothing can happen to me. We don't want any people to know. And also because when they realize, people are aware of the situation with their health, the problem they might be want to be asking them to hand over power to the next person. But because they want to because they want to hold on to power tightly without any trust, because they don't trust the person next to them, they want to be pretending as if they are mini God. That is what I believe to be one of the problems with our leaders in Africa. But here,
Okay. Hold your thought there, because I know we have a lot that we would want to share. But let me quickly bring my last panel into the conversation. Adekunle, I'm going to take you for another angle. I've been following the news as well in UK, and as much as we know the Prime Minister have handover kind of to somebody else, but it seems there's
Yeah,
also wrangling
Dominic
happening
Rob.
behind the scene, of why, maybe that individual should take over or not. That is also something that is being discussed. and that is also happening right now. Do you think now that the prime minister is no longer available to give those directives, do you think the next person would do as the prime minister would really want to do, especially in this situation that we are dealing with the coronavirus?
Absolutely. The person you refer to is Dominic, and Dominic Rob has been in the cabinet for quite some time. If you will remember, he was one of the first guys that started the Brexit negotiation under the past Prime Minister, Mrs. May. So Dominic Rob has been a senior cabinet of personnel, a senior cabinet member, all for time. And since the time the prime minister had tested positive to coronavirus, uh, Dominic Rob has been placed on the site just in case that if there is an emergency for somebody to take over the running of the affairs of the state, that there will always be someone there. And so it's not a problem for Dominic Rock to be announced this evening that he will be deputizing for the prime minister. But unfortunately, when you look at Africa, especially the geographical location called Nigeria, um, we have a government system that is based on some set of politicians and cabals and people that think that they are above the people that elected them. When Boris Johnson was um, elected as the leader of the Conservative Party, the first his speech as the Prime Minister, he said that the people are their boss.
Hmm.
He said to the country that the people are their boss, which means they are answerable to the people. They are
Hmm.
answerable to the people, citizens of this great uh, United Kingdom. But what we get in Africa, we get in Nigeria is totally contrary. Every
Wow.
politician see themselves demigod as a mini god. The only time they come to the people are when they want your votes, and once they get the votes, that's it.
Wow. When
So
they
there is
get
a
your vote, that
huge
is it.
gap.
There's a
That is
huge
it
gap.
now. There's a huge
Okay.
gap between
Before I
the
go
electorate
and the
and
leaders,
the
you
people
think that there's a
elected into
huge
the
gap
office.
between electorate and
It's
those.
not about thinking. It's there. We can all see it. There's a wide
Okay.
gap. There's a big
Okay.
gap
Just
between them.
hold your thought there. I can see a few questions coming through. Please share the page as well. Mr. Adekunle, we will appreciate if you can.
Yes.
Mr. Bode, sorry, not Adekunle. If you can mute the background set, I think it's still coming through, and those watching us at home might be struggling. Let me go
No,
back to
there,
Abuja.
no, there is nothing from my
Ade,
hand there. There's no
okay,
back. There's no noise.
Adekunle, is it you
I've
that's
got,
got something on at the background?
I've got
Okay.
nothing on from my end.
Hold on. Let me just. Oh, bear with me. 1 minute.
Okay,
Let me
can you
just.
put the screen back to us to Abuja? Let's go straight to Abuja. While Adekunle, sorry, Mr. Bode, I think it might be Adekunle that serves Iboru. Let's take a look at it.
Yes, sir.
Is there something like a fear between communicating with the because it seems the media in Europe have access. And when I mean access, by allowing them to, I mean, you will not even be seeing, the media, we don't even know where the president stays when it comes to London, not to talk of
Mm,
where, information will be told to those people around the globe that this is where our president is. I mean, there's security there. I've seen the picture and the beam coming out of St. Thomas Hospital. But what I want to ask you is there something, a breakdown communication between our leaders and the citizens? Because if there's a breakdown communication, I mean, if we're not told what is happening in time, there will be conspiracy theory. Up to now, we don't know where the chief of staff is. We know he's got, yeah, he was tested positive, but up to the moment we are speaking now, nobody knows. We're told he's in Lagos, but at some point we are told also that he might not be in Lagos, and it seems that would then create all kind of conspiracy theory. There was an audio traveling around about a few weeks ago or 2 weeks ago that the president was taken out, and all such manner doesn't also help the country image in a way, because when we say the country image, other part of the world are also watching. Whatever is happening in UK right now is being watched globally. What would you like to say to that?
Yes, what I would say is, wherever there is no information, all sorts would take over in terms of rumors, and this doesn't help a nation. Probably it might be because of security or other things, knowing how Nigeria is. But I believe there are other ways that information can be communicated to the populace, so we can have confidence and also, settle our minds as to where the nation is going. I can remember last week or 2 weeks ago, the spokesperson of the president say that addressing Nigerians is not the style of the president, that he has ministers and other people that can do that, which to a certain degree is a great point. But probably maybe that tact is not very right. As opposed to what's happening in the UK, of course, the president, even while he was sick, he was addressing his people almost on a daily basis because they understand what this means to the people. The Queen has done it. She didn't stop doing it because the president had done his. I mean, everyone, yeah, they understand the responsibility to the people. And I believe this starts from elections, and which is why we are fighting to have credible elections take place, because where you have a place like Nigeria where vote buying is so rampant and leaders pay to get votes, when they get elected, when they buy their way into power, they believe they don't owe the people anything. And that's why they behave with all amount of impunity, because they got there in one way or the other. I'm not saying the president did that, or I'm not mentioning names, but we know how it happens here in Nigeria. And in fact, I have a case ongoing now at the ICC because I ran for governor of my state, and it was vote buying that excluded me from that process. I couldn't even get myself into the election petition tribunal because the registrar ran away and refused to take my petition. I went to the courts to compel the election petition tribunal to take my petition. The judge would not sit on the day until they went on whatever it is that they go for recess, or until they went the break that they are continuing until the election petition tribunal wound up, and we weren't entertained. We've exhausted this happening in a sane country in the world. Well, no, it can't. What we have to do as Nigerians is to make sure we try to get credibly. Do that, our problems will be solved halfway. Because any leader that gets in, knowing that I take the young man that's doing great things in your state, when we have great leaders get in, they will understand responsibility, and they will in turn address the needs of the people. And this will bring about the kind of change we want to see as a people. Of course, in everything that we've discussed from all the other panelists, there's a very great difference between what's happening in the first world countries and what's happening here, what's obtainable here in Nigeria and in Africa, and it's sad indeed.
Let me go to Mr. Bode. I'm looking at the information that we've been given so far regarding the health of the Prime Minister. What we know, like I said, this afternoon, the Prime Minister was moved out of number 10 Downing Street into, St. Thomas Hospital. There's been a lot of messages. The prayers is coming also from the Archbishop of Canterbury. The Queen has also been informed of what is happening currently. Also, I can also say that the pound drops in reaction to Boris Johnson worsening health. Does also that have implication with our leaders? The Prime Minister have not been moved out of United Kingdom to any part of Africa for treatment, as an example. But what we do know is the Prime Minister is presently, being treated, uh, just like anybody. But what I'm trying to find out from you, those information to tell us that the prime minister is currently in the hospital, is also that kind of being on the intensive care unit, and we all know what intensive care unit means. ICU. That means somebody that is either struggling to breathe on his own, and also those are kind of information that can trigger so much around the citizen, whether it's going to come out of it, whether it's going not to come out of it, and all sort and all that. But we pray it will come out of it. But is those
Amen.
information too much or too less, or is just something that to also put the country, just like we've just told you now, the pound is already shaking, just knowing that the UK Prime Minister has been admitted.
I think we need to appreciate one important thing that we need to understand is this: he's a human being. Anything can happen to anybody. There's no big deal about any government being secretive about the state of health of their leader. It is only in a developing country or in a country where the leaders are not even sure of their situation. They are aware that people are not really happy with the way they are running the country. It's only in that kind of society that you see people, the cabals and all these, the so-called cabals, being secretive about the state of health of their leader. Any leader should be able to open up, like whatever they call a servant leader. You are not a god. You're supposed to be a leader. You're supposed to be available to your people. And take, for example, many instances where we've had then the people in power, particularly in Nigeria, being secretive about the state of health of our present president. And I think the journalists are not really helping the situation in Nigeria. We need more of investigative journalism in Nigeria, irrespective of, they should be able to pay the price. We had people like Dele Giwa who laid down his life. I remember the time of Newswatch, where these people will go out, with their kind of investigative journalism. They will come up. But I think what is happening in Nigeria with this, there is what I can describe as an advantage for the Nigerian government regarding this whatever happening in Nigeria now. I was listening to the Minister for Finance earlier today, and when she was talking about this package from the federal government about buying equipment for our hospital, I think this coronavirus has really exposed the state of our system in Nigeria, and our leaders should even be ashamed of themselves. So whatever with the problem that we're having in Nigeria is just when you have leaders that are not sincere, leaders that are not even sure, they don't even know their responsibility. That is what we get in that kind of a situation. We just need more enlightened people. We need people that are more sincere, that are more committed, that are really prepared to serve their country. Not the kind of
That
people
they are really
majority
prepared.
of the people that we have in government at the moment. We need more transparent people in power in our government in Nigeria. That will really help us a lot.
Thank you very much. I'll pick out one or two comments, those watching us on Facebook, and I'll come to you, Adekunle, in just a minute. And I've got Temi Tope watching us on Heritage Life. Good evening and thank you very much. Healing from heaven goes to our Prime Minister Boris Johnson, IGN, and I think that's in Jesus' name. Also, Elaine Femi Orepo, our Nigerian leaders, egocentric. They want to keep power, and it seems that is why everybody, it doesn't want to leave that power. Power is so. The moment you get to the power, the corridor of power is not something you want to leave because of all kind of benefit that comes into it as well. TJ says it shouldn't even be what to be debating if Nigeria is not. Let me try and get that quickly. If Nigeria is not broken and a failed country, Adekunle, there's something that each time we look at the leaders of the African continent. In January, they were hosted by the same prime minister that is presently at St. Thomas Hospital, where almost out of the 54 African countries, a lot of them were in the country. The president from Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, and also. And I was present at where the Uganda, president was having his own speech. But one thing I want to ask you, Adekunle, is how long do we have to wait to get it right between that comparison with our leaders in Africa and the leaders in Europe, in Asia, in America, and other part as well? We've seen so many African leaders that have died outside, and we are not praying that the prime minister, will go at this land, he will survive whatever he is. But come on, we've seen African leaders. Most time, they tend not to die in Africa. They tend to die outside Africa, and the body taken back to Africa. How did we get here, and how can we solve this leadership? Not getting that right leaders in power, where African leaders are ready to die in France. I think the last one, if I remember, died. Most of them died. Even Yaradua died outside the country.
Right. The first thing we need to look at the foundation of how we started off. Can you still hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Yes. We need to look at where we started from. The league in Africa, in Nigeria, was built on falsehood. Okay? There is no sincerity from the foundation. Okay? We were never honest, and the political position is too attractive. The political positions is too attractive to these people in government. The kind of money they make just being in government without doing anything for the masses, for the electorate. That's the difference between the developed world and the African countries. Am I making points here?
We can hear you.
We need a reset button. We need a button to reset the leadership in Nigeria, because unless we press the reset button, we are not going to move forward. This structure has been on ground for decades, and it had never worked for anybody except people in the corridors of power. That's why they find it difficult to relinquish their power. Imagine a president's daughter flying in a national jet up and down to go and take photographs. Imagine they had to suspend. I mean, when they're supposed to close the airspace of Nigeria, we knew there were Chinese who had traveled to China for their New Year's festivity. We decided, and the outbreak started in Wuhan. We decided not to close the border because the president's daughter is still in the UK.
Let me come in there, and I'll let you. Sorry to butt in there. I mean, and thank you very much, Citizen Ewa. I'll be, bringing that comment up in a minute. I mean, you've just said that we saw the Chinese, but come on, the virus was already in other countries, and Nigerians were part of those that moved that virus from their city back to Nigeria. What would you like to say to that? Because I mean, most virus was already in Germany, in UK before it got to.
Before the virus got to UK, the virus started from Wuhan and it spread over China. Okay, before the virus moved to Italy. Italy was the first place reported. Italy and I think South Korea. The moment there was an outbreak in China, what did the South Koreans did? They started testing. They started testing and they started quarantine for every passenger flying in from China. When we were shouting on social media, our politicians refused until when the president's daughter came back to Nigeria. That was when they decided to close the airspace.
Well, you don't have a proof to that. You just probably making that up because there's no proof to substantiate that. What is the proof?
It's all in the national dailies. It was in the Punch.
Okay.
We read it. Okay, it's not essay. It's in the dailies. If you Google it, you'll find it right there as I speak to you. It's on Punch newspaper. All right, a sensible government, once they heard that there's an outbreak in China, what they're supposed to do is to smart up medical checkpoints at our international airport to
Yeah,
check
but
country
the
to make sure
government
that
said to us that they have all that in place. People were being, checked.
we've always
As people
been
were landing.
like, listen, sir.
And
The
sorry
difference
Mm.
for
between the
sorry for
UK,
interrupting you.
Okay, let's get back to Mr. Bode there, and then I can go straight to Abuja. Let's go back to
Um,
Mr. Bode. You wanted to say something?
let me just correct the impression about what our people are saying about lack of preparedness of Nigerian government. I was
Mm.
in Nigeria. In fact, I returned to UK after the declaration by the government that they were going to close the border. I must say
Okay.
that I was really happy with the kind of preparation in Nigeria, the Nigerian airport. When I arrived in Nigeria on the 7th of
Of
March,
March.
I spent
Mm.
almost 2 hours undergoing that
Process.
the test, the process. In fact,
Mm.
before you go to the immigration, I spent almost 2 hours. I didn't leave the airport until about almost to 12 p.m. So I must commend the Nigerian government. But what I realized later, I understand that it was Dangote that sponsored that equipment for them through a private
Mm.
entrepreneur. But when I was coming back
Mm.
to the UK, I arrived UK on the
And you were not
18th
checked,
because there was no checking at all. I just
which a
walk
lot of
out
people
through
were saying as
the
well. Yeah.
London City Airport here, but in Nigeria, it was quite frustrating. But I was happy that I went through
Mm.
that process with the
That
Nigerian
measures were
government.
put in place. So that means we can give
Their
a
measures
kudos to
were
a bit
put
of
in place.
leadership
But
there.
in UK,
Mm.
there was nothing at all. And in all the
So
eateries, the restaurants in Nigeria, even banks, before you go in, the only thing which I'm not sure is the efficacy or maybe the equipment that they are using, how
mm.
efficient it is. But nothing like that was
Well,
happening in the UK.
and now we can
So
see
I
the
think we need to
repercussion
be
of it.
very careful. I know we have leadership problem in Nigeria, but at the
But we
same
must also
time,
make
when we
sure that
see
we put
some
the
good
right.
things,
That's it.
there are also some
Let me go
positive
back.
things about Nigeria.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Adekunle minute. Let me go back to Mr. Iboru in Abuja. Um, you are in Abuja presently,
Mm.
and you've been able to look at again because the topic tonight is Nigerian leaders versus UK leader. Nigeria and United Kingdom have a very good, relationship. We got to look it back. We were colonized and all that. And what something
Mm.
happened over the weekend? We saw in Scotland, the chief medical resigned because she traveled from one location to another location, and then as we people that have been telling us, coronavirus is out. Let us do the right thing. How can you compare that kind of leadership? Because she was a leader on her own, giving us information according to the government that she was under. But when she noticed that she has done the wrong thing, she tendered her resignation. We know we saw something
Mm.
similar, but that was under pressure when the former finance minister Kemi Adeosun had that saga with NYSC and all that. She tendered her resignation and all that. But looking at that incident in Scotland, what would you like to say, comparing that to some of the incidents that you must have noticed in Nigeria?
Yes, there is a lot of difference in approach, and I'll give an example again. I take us back to my state. Last week, the NCDC came up with an announcement that 5 people had coronavirus in Akwa Ibom State. The Commissioner for Health opposed that and asked for a retest. And it's been proven that we have this. And beyond that, the health sector in Akwa Ibom State, they've refused to work with the Akwa Ibom State government because of the same commissioner, because he's very cantankerous. And they've given a vote of no confidence on the man and written to the governor to change the commissioner. But the commissioner, who is supposed to resign at this point, is still there, and not a lot is happening as we speak. The NCDC staff, I think 3 days ago, they said they're going to Akwa Ibom State with test kits because as of 3 days ago, we had none in the state. And this is an example of how leadership, works in some places in Nigeria. With the health sector generally in the country, the state of our general hospitals and public hospitals are nothing to write home about. I mean, I don't know any general hospital in Nigeria that has a ventilator, for example, and I don't know how many of them have access to test kits. So, like Mr. Bode said about the Nigerian airport and how it's handled by Dangote, a couple of billionaires in Nigeria have donated a couple of billions to help, salvage the image of the country and also safeguard the lives of Nigerians, and I commend them for that. But a lot more needs to be done in terms of comprehensive approach, not just against corona, but against every other disease and other issues that are affecting Nigerians. Because it seems to us that what we do is whenever we have a situation, we run around and try to see what we can do to solve that
And
problem.
that
And
is
then
where I
once
was
it's
just going to
gone,
butt in there. Sorry, Mr.
we
Iburu, because I saw the
yeah,
way, Lagos State set up, that isolation center. I don't know the
right,
exact days, but you could
exactly,
see that,
yes.
and I was asking myself, where was all these brand new, equipment used in that
And what will
isolation
happen
center that could have been
after,
used? Yeah.
yes, and what will happen afterwards, and how many people can the isolation center take care of? You see them with pictures of warehouses and rice and gari, and you multiply that across 20 million people. Is that
Mm.
go about this? Of course, they are trying, but it's nearly not enough. If we peradventure have a situation where this outbreak sneaks out and we have results like it is in other countries, where would the thousands of people go? How many ventilators do they have in that place? I mean, people beat their chest and say we have 50 ventilators, 20. Akwa Ibom State
Mm.
has two in a state of 6 million and one
That's
center to.
that's a bit
So, so I
that's a
mean,
bit scary there.
this
Mm.
it's a serious questions, and it calls to question so many
What I
issues
want
that
us to
needs
take out
to be
of this
resolved. So,
conversation tonight. Sorry to come in there because I want us to get
right,
a clear message, because those that are watching us, everyone will always say we have leadership problem. Leader, I've heard of this for so
so
many years,
yes, what needs to be
but
done, my
how do
brother,
we
is
get
that
it?
number one,
Yes. Mm.
the first thing we need to sign this amendment thing to our electoral laws need to be amended. Sign it to law, one.
Okay.
And secondly,
Mm.
because what it would do is address a lot of these vote buying strategies and ballot snatching issues. And secondly, we encourage the younger generation to engage politically. Because when we criminalize certain acts in the electoral laws that are alien, that are not supposed to be, I have special tribunals that will try people that engage in these practices. And on the other side, we engage young people to engage politically. We encourage young people to engage politically. But beyond that, like what I'm trying to do with the ICC is to get members of the ICC to put punitive measures on certain individuals that stop us from getting into the election petition tribunal. So we say that we get the EU, and we get the UK government to say, you know what, certain members of the PDP, certain members of INEC, the judiciary, and all the people that partook openly, brazenly in stopping us from engaging politically, we stop you from coming to our countries. We stop the government from access to grants and loans. It does two things. One, it makes other governments to realize that, look, the whole world is looking at us and there are punitive measures against all these political abnormalities. And secondly, it will encourage the younger generation to engage. Because when I ran for governor, what I witnessed a lot was that people thought their votes wouldn't count. So you may campaign a lot, and then on the election day, people say whether I turn up or not, the votes will not count. These people will buy the votes. And of course, the people in power that have the money to buy the votes actually go out and purchase and intimidate the few ones that come out not to vote. So we need to comprehensively put these three things together so that come 2023 and other elections, we will be able to see results that reflect the minds of Nigerians. But in talking like this without politically engaging, it will be difficult. And I tell you, I take my ward, for example. You walk into a place and your relatives, because I mean, my polling unit, 80% of the people there will be my relatives. They come up brazenly and say, PDP put 1.5 million here, APC put 750,000, how much you get? The people are unaware of the implications of what's happening, selling votes for
And those are
10,000.
implications now that
We
we are
that
facing
know,
with what is happening around the
and
world and
exactly,
presently as
so
well.
so we that know the implication need to do the same work as well. But we understand what you're doing. Let's support you to get through with this. But rather, the young people look at politics as your own thing. But understand that there's no person's thing in politics. We all are in it together. It's either we work together to elect the people we want, or
We
we just.
we we all
So we
are
need to
in
step up to the
together.
plate. But nobody gives power to anyone, bro.
Well,
Nowhere in the
no,
world. Nigeria
nowhere in the
got
world.
corrupt because the young guys with guns went and did coups and jumped into power when they were 23 and 22 and they knew nothing about power. And they brought us here and they are still in power. If we, the
Well,
younger generation, believe we need to take over power, we have to engage strongly and very seriously, not sit and wait for people to give us SAs and PAs and some lazy appointments. And it doesn't look as if our young people are really up to it. So we need to encourage people to come out more and engage while also pressing on the president to leave behind what is, because he said he wants to leave behind a legacy of credible elections. It's amazing. He can start with our
well,
case. He can start by passing the laws the electoral reform laws, and then we take things from there.
okay, if you've just joined us, this is Heritage TV. We're live presently. You can also watch us on YouTube. Do subscribe to that button and make sure you're sharing the page as well. I will take a few more comments coming on our timeline, and I'll come to you, Adekunle. At the moment, Temi says, honestly, we have a great leadership problem in Nigeria. Olanrewaju, kudos to you all. Also, Ayo Ogundimu, says something. Let's focus on African solutions for African problems, and is also challenging the panel to come up with cogent suggestions. So you can see that we have a big task ahead of us this evening, and also to those technical team working behind the scene, we say a big thank you to you. Kunle, let me come to you, Adekunle. Here in United Kingdom,
Right.
um, let's take example of how the whole structure of this coronavirus, and I want to come back to the grassroots, because the grassroots are those that will go out there and do the voting, whether for Labour, Lib Dem, or Conservative. And again, we continue to pray for our Prime Minister, to come out of the situation presently where he is at the St. Thomas Hospital. I'll also be giving us the newspaper headline for tomorrow before the end of this broadcast. Make sure you stay tuned. Coming back, the structure
Right.
that we see that works, regardless of whether the prime minister is there or not under our local government, is working because the whole structure has been put in place. What can you tell those that are watching us around the world why those structures works here in UK, but they refuse to work, in Nigeria and in Africa as a whole?
The
Because, and the reason
structure,
for that, before
the
you
way,
come in, because if you know that most local government in Nigeria is won by one particular party, and you just wonder whether there's no other party that wins in that state. Whoever is the party that is on the throne tends to win the whole local government, or sometimes the local government election doesn't even held at all. Let me go back to you, Adekunle, here in London.
there is, I would say there is a cost on the Nigerian political system, and that was inferred from the moment we destroyed by some militaries that destroyed, hijacked, decided to hijack governments that handed over to government of Nigeria by the British. When some young military guys decided to carry out the first coup, I think our as a nation started from then on. Because before that
Yes.
experience, we had a strong. We even, or if you are aware, according to it, this Nigerian system was a mimic of the system of government in the
British.
United States, United Kingdom. We had Western, Southwestern governments. We had the non-government, and we had the Eastern region government. So, and everything was working to plan. We had Nigeria had the Southwestern region first television station, even ahead of places like France, Denmark, and so many Western powers that we have. South Korea was nowhere to be found in the, compared to the governance we had, the regional governments. So from the most those left in four unitary which later came so-called governments that is harassing governance in Nigeria. We never tried. We pressed the reset button because since that time the same set of people that have been circulating, recycling themselves. It's good to have the youth to get ready, but these guys are not ready to give the chance. That's the honest. Nigerian youth are being shot on the streets every day. Every single can you there was an alleged event in Warri, a young person because the person break the curfew of staying at home. How could you justify that? There were videos of youth in the south tortured. Army, police. How could you justify that? And you compare that with no, you can't compare that. In the U to you, speak to you nicely. Something come to you and speak to you nicely that you're only expected to exercise once daily. You're supposed to stay in your house to save the NHS. But in Nigeria, the police and armies are going on. Even a press was
Okay,
harassed.
Even the
I'm
doctors.
not
Sorry for
getting, I'm
cutting you
not
short.
getting the,
So when
yeah.
Even the
I'll let you
doctors.
land there
A
because
doctor in Akwa
I'm
Ibom
trying,
State
what
had his hands broken
I'm, I'm, I'm trying to see
by the
why,
police.
and I'll go straight to Mr. Bode in just a minute. But Adekunle, I really want you to give me why do we have, the London Borough of Haringey that works? I know you're giving us the
right,
background, but and we have
right,
Etiosa local government that where people now are crying that we don't have
right,
food and all that. What has happened. I know you're
right.
taking us back to the regional, but we're no longer there now. This is where we are at the moment. What has gone wrong, and how can we fix those problems? In just about 2 minutes, before I let
And
Mr. Bode comes in.
governors, true governors, politicians in Nigeria sees themselves as gods, and they are not ready to reach power because of the benefits they get from the different political office they've hijacked. That's why average citizens will never benefit from the Nigerian government system. They will never benefit because the guys who are only there for themselves and they don't care. They don't give a jack about the poor man dying on the street. That's the contracts between the. Imagine in the UK, the self-employed people are under self-employed over 5 million. There's already a package for them up to 2,500 a month.
800.
Government had already made that provision. Huh? Government has already made that
Hmm.
provision. In Nigeria, the people have nothing to fall back on. People have been donated. By the end of this corona, then there will be camps of worms. large money will be embezzled and stolen. There's
Let me
no
go to
accounting.
let me come to Mr. Bode. I'm just looking at power is no protection from harm. After a day in a strange vacuum, the official statement emerged from Downing Street just after 2000 hours, having struggled to shake off symptoms and having been taken to hospital 24 hours before the Prime Minister had been moved into the intensive care number 10 announced. It has been clear for many days that Mr. Johnson was taking far longer to recover than had initially been expected. He regularly popped on social media to say to customary bombastic tone that he was suffering from mind tones, just like his voice there, and was following advice. Even this morning, number 10 was insisting that he was still receiving red boxes full of government business and was in touch with his team. We know that at some point when the president back in Nigeria was traveling to UK on medical leave as well, power was was given to the vice president. But we also noticed that some decisions that maybe was done as at that time didn't go very well. Does that mean that the decision that the next person in line to Boris Johnson before this guy comes out of us, maybe he's thinking on his IEC bed that that guy he might take some decision that I might not really love when I come back. What is that trust? Is there real trust between those in power within themselves, or they are just smiling to the face of the camera? And again, if you help us push your camera back a little bit so the technical team can capture you very well, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And
I'll let you go ahead.
let me start by saying that in Nigeria, some people believed that they were born for power, to be in power. So there is that difficulty with them allowing other people and other tribes. We have more racism in Nigeria than anywhere else. Some of us, we do complain about racism in the UK. But the worst racism is happening in Nigeria when it comes to political power. Look at when President Buhari was sick and was rushed here, and Professor Yemi Osinbajo, very dynamic guy, was on power. And look at the issue that happened with the SSS, and which was very shameful. And when Osinbajo sacked that guy and Buhari came back, this cabal, they nullified the decisions taken by President Osinbajo. And that is the
Right?
problem, one of the problems that we have in Nigeria. When some people believe that they were born for power, and we also have the so-called cabals that are operating in the government. Everybody knows about these cabals in Nigeria, particularly at the presidency here, there. The way they manipulate things, the way they do whatever they like. This is not a good development for Nigeria. And we have what we call the godfatherism. You are talking about about the local government and the rest of it. The
Yes.
problem that we have in Nigeria is godfatherism. That is not really helping us to produce quality leaders in Nigeria. Look at what is happening in Lagos State. Even though this guy came in through godfatherism, I'm talking about Sanwo-Olu, but he was able to put it, what Lagos State is achieving in this area of coronavirus has to do with the type of leadership and the people in position. I was reading the CV of that commissioner for that professor. I've just forgotten his name now. That guy is doing a
Professor, the commissioner for health in Lagos State.
the commissioner
Abayomi.
for it. Look at what that guy. I was reading his CV. That is what we are seeing in Nigeria, putting the quality people there. I was not one of the fans of Sanwo-Olu when he's coming because of this godfatherism in Nigeria. But look what the guy has done in Lagos State. I was really impressed. I think the guy really won my heart. And then with this commissioner for health there, the professor, doing a very great job. When we have quality, when we have the right people in position of authority, it will really help us. Not people, not a gate man, somebody without any experience, without
When
any
you say we have
expertise.
the right people, but those right people, are they making the decision within their own right people, or the decision is given to them,
When
by WhatsApp message, to be delivered to those that they are getting the message to?
when you are given the freedom, the right,
That
when you
is
are
it.
allowed to do
Yes.
what is right, that is what we
Hmm.
need. I'm sure somebody like that commissioner for it, I was reading his CV. You can Google his CV. I believe that type of guy is not somebody, will not be somebody that will allow any rubbish from even the so-called Sanwo-Olu. I believe that type of guy is somebody
Hmm.
that can, if you are not allowed him to do what is right, I believe that is the type of guy that will land over his CV, just like what happened to this lady, the former minister for finance here, Kemi Adeosun. It goes
Adeosun.
to a say,
Hmm.
those are the type of people that we need in leadership in Nigeria, people that will be ready to say, please take your position. I'm not for this. If you will not allow me to do what is required of me, I'm not power drawn. Those are the type of people that we need. Read that guy's CV. I was really impressed with his CV when I was reading his CV yesterday or a couple of days ago because I've been monitoring that guy, for the last few days when I'm seeing the development, the good development in this area of coronavirus in Lagos State. We need people, when you put an expert in a position, give them the free hand to do what is right, allow them to make the decision. And when you are not allowed them to make the decision, we need the kind of people that will be able to say, if you will not give me the power, if not give me the permission to do what is required of me, then take your position. I think that
Hmm.
is what we need in Nigeria, not just when you put these people that will be doing yes, sir, people in, permit me to use the Nigerian slang. The yes, sir, are people
Yes,
that
sir.
will
Yes,
just be
sir.
taking any
Yes, sir.
rubbish.
Yes, sir. Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Let me go.
They don't have their own mind. They don't have their own conscience. They cannot
Hmm.
make their own decision. And that is what we are mostly. About 90% of such people are people in, they are the people controlling in positions. Look at what my friend was saying about Akwa Ibom State. The commissioner for doing rubbish there. And the governor has not
Yeah.
even sacked him up till now, and he's still there doing the rubbish stuff. We need more responsible
Hmm.
people. We need leaders that will be able to make a decision. If you are not performing, get out of the place. That is the
If you're
only
not
way that we
performing, get
can
out
make
of the
progress in
place.
that country.
Hmm.
That
We're
is the
gonna
only
go to
way. That is what
Abuja.
we need in our system.
Okay. Once again, if you've just joined us, you're watching a special broadcast, Nigerian leaders versus UK leaders, and this is on Heritage TV. You can also make sure you click that subscribe button on the YouTube channel and also share the page. Thank you very much, Adeido. Good evening to you as well. Temitope keeps saying, my thought and prayers are with Boris Johnson. Get well soon. Let me go to Abuja again. First and foremost, do you have light in Abuja? Because it's a question that a lot of people, each time we are having conversation with people in Nigeria, either by WhatsApp, have you got light or you're running on the generator? Before I ask you the question.
Certain people, certain places in Abuja has light, and a lot of other places don't. Uh, President, I do, but before I'd say that in a day I have 20 hours of light, sometimes 24 hours. So it's pretty
You
good,
must
but
be
then it
very
depends
close to
on
the
the area of
presidential
Abuja
villa. That's why
one
that
is
maybe
staying
that
at.
light is stable.
Exactly. In Maitama, Sokoro, Wuse, and
Hmm.
Gariki, a few areas, there's
The question I
outage.
want to put
It
to you
becomes very
is the,
deplorable.
the, the constitution that we have presently, the
Mm,
1999 constitution, is it really
mm.
working for us?
I,
Or some
it
of the
needs to be
amendment that
amended.
has been done, uh, and what needs to be amended? I know there will be a lot, but in being somebody that lives in Abuja, in Nigeria, flows with what is happening on ground, what area that would have quick impact between the government and the citizen that you would love to see amended in that constitution?
I think power needs to be decentralized and states need to be given more power, devolution of power, whatever it is. But the thing is, who's going to do it? Because the way it's being structured, the senators are supposed to sit and do this work. They're making a lot out of this. They're good to look after the yam. Once we can have that and give a lot of powers to the state governments, we would be able to see a lot more. And it is because of this centralization of power that has led to so many things like Amotekun, you're saying, and a lot of states across regions across Nigeria trying to find ways to secure themselves because the federal government is not doing enough to give them the security they need. I believe once Nigerians have the ability to live without fear, and a few laws are put in place, or a few support systems are put in place by the state governments, especially, and in conjunction with the federal government to support businesses, Nigerians will be able to thrive. And you have to understand that Nigerians don't need a lot. You know, we are not a people that wants the government to provide everything for us. Once a government can do one or two things to help us, thrive, eat well, have our kids go to decent schools, Nigerians are happy. And I believe we have the resources and the people to make this come about. So I believe the
Hmm.
first thing would be decentralization of power, putting more powers in the hands of different regions. So this can happen rather quickly. But then,
Wow.
right now, since I believe that it takes political leadership to bring about the kind of change any country wants to see. You see, Nigerians are not able to understand politics. You see, without political power, nothing can be done. And if we can have the president ask the senators to bring back the amendments that was done to the Electoral Act so he can sign it to law, then 50% of our problems would have been solved without us knowing. Because then the votes would be transmitted electronically. And all this rubbish we are seeing and technicalities happening in the judiciary would have been taken care of at the ballot level because digitally accreditation and voting would be transmitted and it would help us, people like us, a lot. And secondly, the certain acts that are there in the electoral laws that are not right will be criminalized. So people that are engaging in, like for example, vote buying is not a criminal act in Nigeria. So even if you catch a vote buyer, you can't send him to jail for vote buying, which is totally wrong. So once these things are addressed, and on the side, we as concerned Nigerians put in the efforts to counter what the people in power or the wrong people in power are doing. In time, we will be able to correct the anomalies we are seeing in the system.
Hmm. Adekunle,
Yeah.
let's come back to you.
Yes,
Here in United Kingdom,
yes,
we can see that the citizens are already putting themselves up for the task on every level. And we saw that even when the prime minister asked for 250,000 volunteers, we end up having almost a quarter of a million people saying we are ready, to support and work tirelessly during this, super pandemic that has taken so many lives. And as we speak, life has still been taken, today, and the souls of those that have departed continue to rest in perfect peace. What gives a citizen that joy to put themselves forward? And you could remember as well that a lot of time we have the reservist army that are working day night. Some of them are doing 9 to 5, but whenever they are called upon, they are ready at any
yep,
point of time. But you've
yep.
heard a lot of people say, "I will never, never die for Nigeria."
Yes, because to ask ourselves, what is you a citizen of a country? What is the belonging that makes you feel, oh yes, I belong to this nation? I will be honest with you. A lot of people, millions of people in Nigeria, they've lost faith in that country. They don't see themselves as a citizen of that country. They were raised there, they are still living there because they've covered connection between them and the government till grave. A lot of people point to they've enjoyed being a citizens of Nigeria. Coming to the UK, there's a contract. What you see in your mother's womb and your pregnancy get to 6 months, there is the special paid for by the government through the taxpayers' money. day of delivery, they go to the hospital. You have your baby, whether CS or normal delivery, easy. Nobody's gonna ask you for a penny, all because you're a citizen of this country. If you don't have money that you to buy basic needs to look after your baby, government will give you money. Okay, there is a package for you for a child to buy essential things for the baby. Not to talk of all down cares that the government has in place: primary education, secondary education, and then if you want to go to college or whatever, everything is there. But do we get the same in Nigeria? No. We get nothing. Can you still hear me? Hello, can
Hear
you
you.
hear me?
We can still hear you.
Yes. Nigerian citizens get nothing from their governments.
Hmm.
They get from their government.
Wow.
The politicians, they trust their to serve them. Listen, this is a message to all Nigerians, especially the Yorubas. We or the government, we own the government. We are the government. The government are answerable to us, and we have the right
Hmm.
to ask questions. Yes,
We
so
have the right to
why are
ask
they asking?
questions.
To ask, where is Abakari? Where is Oshibajo? Since the time of this pandemic, we've not cited Oshibajo in public. Where is Buhari?
Oh,
Where
but
we
we've
demanded.
been seeing some
Hold on,
pictures of him that is being put out
hold on,
there,
sir. Hold on,
having meetings and all sorts.
hold on. When we asked for Buhari to address the nation, we were
Yeah, but
presented with a
he did.
recorded
The
video.
president did last week Sunday.
It was not live.
Oh, yeah, but
Every day,
the queen had a record.
every,
Hold on there. But the queen had a recorded
every
message that
day,
was transmitted to us over the weekend as well. Anyway, let
every
me go
day.
straight to
Boris
I know.
Johnson, not up to this morning, but until it was.
All right, let me go straight to Mr. Bode as we are winding down. Gradually. Once again, thank you to those of our panelists that have joined us this evening. I would like to appreciate each and every one of you, and we hope anytime we need you, you would also make yourself available. For those that might be watching and wondering why we don't have a female, be rest assured that we did everything possible to have one on the panel tonight. But we will bring them tomorrow as we continue the program. Thank you very much, Joy. We need change in Nigeria. We've got about less than 5 minutes because my producer have been saying to me, we need to start winding down. Let me first go straight to Mr. Bode. I want us to give us in just under 2 minutes what really we need to put in place to have that best leadership in United Kingdom as we have it. There's still flaw also in Africa as well.
Let me first of all start by saying, let me mention something slightly, just to mention the fact that I'm a solicitor in the UK. I also qualified in Nigeria as a legal practitioner and a practicing
Mm.
solicitor in the UK here. You asked a question about our constitution. First of
Yes.
all, I believe we need a kind of a constitutional reform in Nigeria. We've spent
Okay.
so much money organizing, putting up, is it constituent assembly or whatever? We've given so many names, right from Obasanjo regime up to Jonathan
Mm.
regime. They spent so
Mm.
much billions putting up all these kind of old cargoes together to come up with a workable constitution for Nigeria. What we need is a constitutional reform that will allow younger generations, responsible people, not just reforming all these old cargoes coming again, people that have nothing more to offer Nigeria. Once we have a
Mm.
good constitutional reform in place, once we have a very good law in place, that will be able, and then we don't need this kind of National Assembly that we have now, where billions are being spent on all these people. earning almost, where some of them are even earning more than UK Prime Minister or American President. Once we have a good constitutional reform, and not people will not just want to go into power because of what they are going to steal or because of the money. We need people that will want to come into power because they want to serve and not just for the sake of what they are going to get. These are the things that we need to have in a new constitution. That will be very difficult to have in this kind of with this kind of people that we have in power. They will not want that kind of system to work, and that is why sometimes I tend to pray that we just have a kind of military government, a radical one, like what Ghana had during Jerry Rawlings, and they were able to put up a workable constitution, a responsible leader in place. That is the only way. We need a new constitution that will a workable one. We don't need this dual National Assembly House of Rep. We just need one legislative body in Nigeria. Without that will not be so expensive with the way that we are operating, where we are spending almost 50, is it almost 30 something percent of our budget in paying salaries of legislators. Then where do we get money to provide the hospital? Where do we get money to provide education? Where do we get money to provide the motorable good road infrastructure facilities when we are spending almost 40% on salaries of a National Assembly? I think what we need is just a new constitution that will allow for a responsible leadership, allow responsible people to come into position of authority in Nigeria. Thank you.
My final word from Abuja with our guest there, Mr. Iboru Otu. Thank you very much for taking your time at this hour of the night, joining us here in United Kingdom. As we're taking your last closing remark there, what message again, Nigerian leader versus UK leader, Heritage TV special broadcast coming this evening?
I know that the diaspora, especially the UK and America, they contribute over 15% of our GDP in remittances. What that also means is that if the diaspora can work together and support the young upcoming politicians here in Nigeria, a lot can change in our political landscape. Politics in Nigeria, unfortunately, is all about resources. And if the upcoming people like Showore, people like all these young people around the country can have the support they need, they'll be able to win. And the support they need might not even be money, but networks. I'll be in the UK after this is over. I'm hoping to meet with the Prime Minister. I'm hoping to see how I can bring the different countries together to give us the support we need at the ICC. But we need support to be able to do that. I have the third biggest law firm in the world, Olswang CMS, as my lawyers. You know how much it is to have a case with them? Where am I going to get the money? You have to, the diaspora need to understand. I mean, I came to the UK during my campaign to see how I can get campaign resources. I spent money to get there. I went around the whole place, and came back to Nigeria with nothing, because people tend not to understand that politics is about a game of numbers and people working together. So there's a lot of responsibility to our brothers and sisters out there in the diaspora to understand and see that, look, to change Nigeria, the people in Nigeria don't have the resources to do that. My state, for example, takes in about 25 billion every month. And if the governor keeps 2 months allocation, no one is going to have 50 billion to do an election with him. So where would a hardworking man get the money to run an election against such a government? It's not possible. And Nigeria is so structured in such a way that the people that have money, 80% of our billionaires get money from direct government contracts and government patronage. So these people won't go against the government to a certain degree because they want to do what is right. So if we want a revolution in Nigeria, forget about coups. Obasanjo, right from his time, they watered down the military. It's a business. And constitutional reform is a bit far-fetched because it will take such a long time to have the team of people that will have the hearts to do so. The easiest way to do it is through the ballot.
Just
and that means as young people, we need to change
I know we have a lot to say, but we'll continue
I
to
will
have this
encourage
conversation.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll encourage Nigerians to find a way to engage politically, because that seems to be the only way that the world will support us once we in that direction. So we need to work more together to create the change.
Work together with the diaspora. Let me take the last word from Adekunle there. Nigeria leader versus UK leader in less than 1 minute.
Thank you very much. If we want to have the same leadership type of leadership that we enjoy, we the aspirant that we enjoy, we need to press the reset button. We need to at least we need to go back to regional governments where everybody determines their future, their powers, region, develop their region, make law, laws that suit them. That's nobody will come to come and dictate for people in Ogbomo. Go back at least to the regional government. If not, we should negotiate this coexistence.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. And as we bring the broadcast to an end, I will quickly give us, where we are in terms of the total number with the coronavirus in just about a minute, and also what the headlines are saying here in UK in regard to the Prime Minister, and we pray for his quick recovery. At the moment, we had 6 new cases of COVID-19 patient that was reported in Nigeria. The first 2 cases is coming out from Kwara State. We haven't seen any cases in Kwara, but that is coming out now. 2 in Kwara, 2 in Edo State, 1 in River State, 1 in FCT. We now have 238 confirmed patients, and 35 have been discharged. Unfortunately, we have lost 5 people that have died as well. The breakdown says Lagos have got 120, FCT 48, Osun 20, Oyo State have got 9, Edo State have got 11, Bauchi 6, Akwa Ibom 5, Kaduna 5, Ogun State 4, Enugu 2, Ekiti 2, River State have got 2, Benue have got 1, Ondo State have got 1, Kwara State have got 2. Make sure you continue to stay tuned with the Heritage TV, as we will be bringing you so many different programs during the course of this coronavirus. Special broadcasts will continue to come through, but make sure you also can patronize and make use of some of the best, audio visual that they have, to capture you wherever you are. We can bring you into the screen and you can tell us what is happening around you. What do we know in terms of the dailies here in UK, the newspaper? Some of them are already out. Daily Mail, news striking, Boris taken to intensive care. Shock as number 10 revealed Prime Minister condition has worsened. The Guardian, Johnson taken to intensive care after the viral symptoms worsened. That is also coming up there. The Sun newspaper, Boris in intensive care, and Johnson in intensive care, the Daily Telegraph, and that is about it. Let's just take a look at it. Sometimes some of these headlines, if you put some of those kind of headlines in Nigeria or some African countries, you could expect what might be coming from you. What is my own take in terms of these, conversation tonight? Until we as people come together and then continue to put the message, which is the key aspect of it. We were in Nigeria as well during the election in March, and just like Iburu said, so without money, you might not be able to do more. But I also believe that working within the grassroots, we get the message across. We've seen a lot of people. It seems also COVID-19 has also told so many Nigerians that it's not just about the election alone. You must also be prepared for the so many cases or events that might happen. And now we've seen people complaining about not getting enough. But you already collected that 1,000 naira by not voting the right people that would have done the job. On behalf of the team here in UK and those working behind the scene, and those of you that have joined us on all different platforms, we could spot you there, every one of you. Tomorrow, make sure you stay tuned with Heritage TV. I will just give each one of you 30 seconds to say your final goodbye before we bring the broadcast to an end. Let me first go to Abuja with Mr. Iboru. 30 seconds, not more than 30 seconds.
Thank you so much, Heritage TV, for having me, and I thank all the panelists. I thank all the listeners as well. I believe we can do something great for Nigeria, and Nigeria will be great again. So let's work together in making Nigeria a true nation.
Let's work together and make Nigeria a true nation. Let's go straight to Adekunle. 30 seconds, your closing and final message to those watching us at home and those watching us at work.
Thank you very much, moderator, and everyone watching us from all over the world. My closing note is simple. If our coexistence cannot, we must be negotiated or go back to regional government. There's not more than that. We've tried this experiment and it's not working and it's not going to work. We have
Hmm.
to government
Thank you.
at least. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And the final word from Mr. Bode Ifagbemi, thank you very much for giving us that time. Your own final closing remark there in 30 seconds.
And thanks so much, Mr. Moderator. And I also want to say a big thank you to the listeners and the viewers. And let us just continue to pray for our Prime Minister here, Boris Johnson, and at the same time to pray for a reform, for a kind of a responsible leaders in Nigeria. We all have no other place. We have no other country. We may be carrying British passport, whatever we may be carrying, but Nigeria is still so much very dear to some of us, to majority of us, I believe. So let us just continue to pray for responsible leaders for our country, Nigeria. Thank you.
And to Mr. Ade Thomas, were the producer of this program that also working tirelessly. You didn't see his face tonight. He loves working behind the background. But I can tell you, fantastic job he's been doing, not just for the Nigerian community, but for the world at large. My name remains Olayomi Koike. We'll continue to make sure we bring the best program and the best of what is happening around the world on Heritage TV. From me, I say Odaro. That means good night and let us do the right thing. Stay away, stay indoor. If you have to work, we know you can only go to work, but if you don't have to go to work, here in UK, they've been taking care of you. 80% of you, 80% of your wages will be paid. So many incentives have been put in place. In Nigeria, it's two different things, but also stay indoor and let's save so many lives. Bye for now.
Hello, I'm Susan Jumoke Fajano Thomas. It is important for us to stay at home. It is important for people to stay at home. By staying at home, you will help control the spread of the virus. You will help control the virus from spreading to your friends, colleagues, and the community. It is important we come together at this time to work together to support each other. Is by doing this and by staying at home that we can fight this virus. Also, it is important to practice social distancing, which means you need to stay 2 meters away from other people at all times. Please, let's do it together. Hashtag stay at home. Thank you.
Heritage TV. La 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 la. Heritage Everybody in London, have you heard that Heritage Television has come up with something new? All your functions and celebrations can now be multi-camera live stream that was only reserved for the rich and famous. Having a function in London can be viewed clean and clear immediately from any part of the world. Trust Heritage TV to give you a better reach. Heritage Television also does photography that will make you the envy of all your friends and family. Heritage Television is the best. All your functions like birthdays, funerals, weddings, church anniversaries or harvest. Heritage Television is the master. We are in the heart of London with an ultra-modern equipped studio. You can call us on 020-800-46100 or email us info@heritagetv.co.uk or mobile 0734 1234 560. Heritage Television will do you proud.